Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Cutting Through the Bullshit. I am your host, Dr. Stephanie Snyder, and I am a high-performance mentor. Through my unique blend of strategy, mindset, and intuition, I help men and women to cut through the BS in order to create the life and business they desire. I am excited for today's topic because it's a good one, and it's one that I have been discussing with my children recently, especially my oldest. He is away at college and on the college golf team, and we've been doing a lot of mindset work together because, well, it's a lot, right? And it can be very draining. And if you are not paying attention to the inner dialogue that's happening, you can definitely throw yourself off course. Pun intended, right? Not only that, but it's very important to actually be mindful of what this inner dialogue is, because it really sets the tone for alignment in general. I've talked about this before, but alignment is a very powerful thing. It's your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions literally in alignment. And so that first step is mastering the internal dialogue. What are you actually saying to yourself? And I'll never forget years ago, I had heard it, right? What are you saying to yourself kind of things, but I didn't realize what I was actually saying to myself until I became incredibly aware of it. And so, I mean, that's duh stuff, right? But I will never ever forget the moment that it actually hit me in the face, literally. I was walking up the stairs to my desk here, and I dropped a box of push pins. And I said to myself, "You're so stupid." And it was in that moment that I caught myself and I was like, oh, well, that's not kind at all. I made a mistake. It doesn't make me stupid. I dropped something. And so that was when I really started to take ownership, radical responsibility for the internal dialogue that was going on. And I made the rule, if I wasn't going to say it to my best friend or to my children, I was not allowed to say something about myself that way, right? So if I was not going to tell my children that they were stupid or that my best friend was stupid, then I wasn't allowed to say it to myself. Now, do I make mistakes? Yes, for sure. But does it qualify me being stupid? No, not at all, right? And so I started to give myself a whole lot more grace and a whole lot more love, and the whole world changed just by doing that. And today's topic, we're going to get there, right, is about the stories that we tell ourselves. So the truth is, we're going to tell ourselves a story about a situation no matter what, right? No matter what, we are going to give ourselves a perspective, a little rundown, a summary of whatever situation happened. So if we're going to tell ourselves a story, it may as well be an empowering one, right? Because we're choosing the story anyways, so why wouldn't we write the story to be in our favor? Now, that doesn't mean hang out pie in the sky, everything is sunshine and rainbows all the time, but that does mean that we are actively deciding how we're going to respond to a situation. So let me give you the background for this. So my son is a freshman on the golf team, and he had to earn that 5th spot. So the golf team consists of, I think there's 10 kids on the golf team, but the top 5 are the ones that actually travel and play at the tournaments. And he is sitting at 5. We're working on his mindset. He plays an incredible round 3. We're just, again, 10 hours of golf on day 1, which is rounds 1 and 2, is a very long day for anybody. And you really have to build up your endurance to be able to do that. And so the internal dialogue was not being a friend to him. And this week we were focusing on, I said, hey, this is what I do. Can I help you? Let's break this down and I'll treat you as I would any of my other clients, and let's make this work. And so we were working through some things on Sunday night, and then on Monday, his coach decided that he was going to let the number 6 guy give this round 3 a try, right? And my son was absolutely totally disappointed, right? And rightfully so, okay? Rightfully so. And so I was helping him navigate this because, one, I said, be disappointed, be upset, be all the things. You are absolutely allowed to feel annoyed and angry and frustrated and feel all the feels, feel them all, right? Don't just shove them down and be like, okay, let's move on to the next thing, okay? But actually feel them. Sit with yourself, be annoyed, be pissed off. And he actually called me, he vented for a little bit, which I think really helped, right? And then I said, okay, when you're ready, we're going to choose how we respond to this situation. So you can either become bitter by the situation, or you can become better by the situation. And I'm proud to say that my son decided to be better because of the situation as opposed to bitter. And what it actually reminded me of was when I was in high school, my junior year of high school, my mom and my stepdad got married on the day of my district's race for cross country. And I was pissed. I was real mad that the wedding was planned that day because cross country was my favorite sport that I competed in. It was my favorite for sure, and I was real mad that I was missing out on this race. So also angsty teenager, pissed off at parents, right? It was a terrible mess, right? Nevertheless, my senior year, as one of the captains of the cross country team, my coach punished me. Now, maybe that wasn't necessarily his plan, that wasn't necessarily his intention, but that's how it came out. And our very last race, which was our I guess it was a conference race, which was the race against all of the teams that we raced against through the year, right? We all came together and we did this conference race. It was called something else, but I can't think of it at this point. And so there's a JV race and a varsity race. And I had been on varsity cross country since my freshman year. And for my very last regular season race, he put me in the JV race. And I was pissed, right? As a senior, as a captain of the team, he put me in the JV race. Again, totally pissed. And I could have been really bitter about it, and I could have decided to not show up for my team and to just be a total a-hole about it. Absolutely. And probably no one would have blamed me. They would have been like, absolutely, right? But what I did instead was I figured out what time I would need to get on that course in order to have placed highly in the varsity race, right? So the varsity and the JV race were the exact same course. And what I did was I looked at the race times from the previous year, and I said, okay, here's where I want to land because this makes me a viable part of the varsity team. This is the time that I'm going for. And I broke it down by mile markers. I knew what pace I had to hit at each one of those mile markers. And I had my watch, right? But I also had one of my friends yelling the times to me at each one of those intervals. It was like a 3.1, it was a 5K course, right? So, it was the mile marker. So every mile I had someone yelling at me what my time was. I crushed that course. And I came back, like the second place person behind me, the second place female, mind you, the boys and the girls ran together for JV, which is just wrong on a whole bunch of things, right? But the next girl behind me was minutes behind me. And so I ran this race and I would have finished in the top 5 for my team, which would have made me qualify for points in the cross country standings, right? And I was so proud of myself. And I didn't say anything. I didn't gloat. I didn't do anything nasty. I just loved the fact when I crossed that finish line that I was faster than that time that I was even aiming for. It was a beautiful thing. And it absolutely made me better because I will never forget the night before that race. I knew what that course looked like. We had run it the day before. We had run it several times prior to that. And I knew what that course looked like. And I visualized myself running that course, the hills, the turns, in and out of the woods, the times that I was going to hit because I knew where the mile markers were, right? Like this is it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And it was one of those core memories that just anchors in, and I love it, right? And so while the story at the time was my coach was punishing me, I still kind of tell that story that way, but I'm better on the other side of it, because that race showed me what I was capable of when there was no one else near me competing. Because prior to that race, and in many races even after that, my focus would be to take out the person in front of me. And I'd get laser focus on the head in front of me until I passed that person. And then I get laser focus on the head in front of me and I pass that person. And in this race, there was no one ahead of me. It was simply me running my own race, and it was so cool, right? It was amazing. I loved it. And it was a story that I told myself was, you know what, this situation made me stronger because I realized what I'm actually capable of doing on my own. When I'm not competing with other people and it's just me and the clock. It's a really cool thing. And so as I was working with my son to move through this conversation or through this story, I said, what story are we going to tell ourselves after this? Because it's certainly not that you're bad at golf, right? I said, but your mindset was in such a great place that could you imagine if this had happened a couple weeks earlier? It would have hit you very differently. I said, but because your mindset was in such a great place, it just rolls off your back. You're like, okay, cool, right? Now, the kid that ended up replacing him did not do so great on the course, and he felt a little bit vindicated, and it's fine, right? But nevertheless, it was, how are we navigating this? What's the story that we're telling ourselves? Because we're going to tell ourselves a story anyways. So it might as well be a good one. And my girlfriend actually, she called me about this the other day, or I think she sent me a text, and she said, I was coming through the gate into their neighborhood. They live in a gated neighborhood. She said, I was coming through the gate and one of the security people pointed at me and said something. She said, and I have no idea what he said, but I told myself that he thought my hair looked great. And I was like, I absolutely love that. That's awesome, right? When somebody drives by me acting like a crazy person, I'm like, you know what? Maybe they're trying to get home because somebody fell, right? Or there's an emergency at home. Let me pray for them that they get home safely. We constantly tell ourselves stories, so we may as well tell ourselves a good one, right? All right, I'm going to sign off here. I've got another one to do because I'm in a great mood. We're going to batch create today, so I'm sending you so much love. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. And as always, be you, because the world needs more of you.